The City of Columbus is taking a bold step towards enhancing the safety of its residents by reducing its speed limit to 25 miles per hour. Today on City Chat, Councilmember Barroso de Padilla, also chair of the Public Safety and Transportation Committee, is here with us to talk about these changes and why they were deemed necessary. Councilmember, thank you for joining us on City Chat today.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
We're really excited to have you here. Could you first tell us a little bit about what you do for the city and just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. I'm the daughter of immigrants. I was born and raised here in Columbus on the east side. I'm a Columbus kid through and through. Graduate of Columbus City Schools, grew up going to our rec centers and our having a very Columbus kid existence on the east side. And after high school, joined an organization called City Year. It's an AmeriCorps program, and had the opportunity to serve my community on the south side, turning an old church into a community center, where that's really where my social justice nerve and my the spirit of service and giving back was really kind of ignited. And so I knew then, knocking on doors on the south side and sitting in living rooms, talking to folks about what they wanted in this community center, that service and service to others was really going to be part of my life. I mean, I wasn't sure then that it would look what this would look like now,
yeah.
But in 2021, I decided, after a pandemic and the effects of our city, decided that I wanted to put my name in the ring for a city council seat. And so, I think representation is incredibly important. It changes the game, it changes the conversation. And in the 50 years that my parents have been in this country as immigrants from Cuba, they never once saw someone who looked like them or had their shared experience sitting at the table making decisions for them. And we know that representation on all fronts, right? Whatever that looks like, however the different identities that you hold in your life experiences, again, just changes conversations, changes perspective, changes how we think and who we center decisions on. And so I believe that my experiences would bring a unique lens to the Columbus City Council. And so I just finished my first year on council, and I'm super excited to serve the city that raised me and is now raising my daughters in the way that I do.
Yeah, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you for sharing that. So you kind of took the charge on reducing the speed limit in the downtown district of Columbus. Can you talk a little bit about why that was needed and why you felt personally passionate about this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the folks are going to hear more and more about traffic concerns in the city of Columbus. We've been hearing about traffic concerns certainly before the pandemic, certainly after the pandemic, where I think like all of us were a little rusty in our houses, probably not traveling a whole lot. But we're understanding that, I mean, the population of Columbus will double. And we're saying the next 20 years, but I think it's going to happen much, much sooner than that. And so we have a grid, right, a traffic grid that was built for many less cars than we currently have, much less for a city that's going to double in size. We need to start thinking about transportation.
Yeah.
And we need to start thinking about how we build infrastructure for cyclists, for pedestrians, for cars, and also for bus rapid transit, or Link Us, which is something that we've been talking about a lot as a city. One of the strategies in order to really make all of those things work and to make them work safely is Vision Zero. And Vision Zero is really the idea. It's a worldwide effort. It's not just a Columbus effort. We're seeing this in other countries, other parts of the world, where it's really the vision that 0 people die from traffic crashes. Mm-hmm. And I say crashes and not accidents because we believe that accidents don't happen. It's usually because someone's doing something they're not supposed to. We're distracted, we're not following the rules of the road, something happens that causes that crash. Yeah. And so we believe that by both helping to educate the public, but certainly by changing the way that we think about traffic and traffic patterns and how we think about how we set up our roadways, it will help us get closer to that vision. I remember I was at there's a vigil that's held annually. This is a national effort where we remember folks who have died from traffic crashes. And I was talking about the first accident that I got into as a teenager, right? I got hit by a car. And I remember someone on the scene, I was pretty shaken up, and the person said to me, "Oh, don't worry about it, kid. This is your first accident. This was like one of many, like it was a rite of passage.
Right.
Right? And that shouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah.
As a younger person in my early 20s, my first job was downtown. I was very excited about it. And I was walking to my car in a crosswalk with the right of way, and a person wasn't paying attention and made a left turn into my body. And so, now well into my 40s, I still suffer the effects of the injury that I sustained then. And so these are the kind of stories that we have just made commonplace in our society, that we really need to change culture around. A vehicle can be a tool or it can be a weapon.
Yeah.
And we have to be responsible, just the same way that the fear that parents, I have a teenager who will be driving in the next year, and just that same fear that I have is the same sort of intention that we should have for all of us when we're driving, not just for an unexperienced driver, but for every driver.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So how will the lower speed limit improve safety for all forms of transportation?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because studies have shown even a 10-mile reduction in speed can save a life, right? So as we go up, the faster you're going, the ability for someone who could be like a vulnerable road user, so that's someone who is on 2 feet, that's someone who's on a bike, the ability for them to sustain an injury and survive it lessens the higher in speed we go, right? So if we reduce the speed from 35 to 25, that's literally life-saving, right? So if something does happen and a crash does occur, you can survive someone going 25 miles an hour. You will sustain a serious injury at 35. It could be a fatal injury at 45.
That is all really great information, and actually information I didn't know. So thank you for that. The Ohio Revised Code definition of a business district, what is that, and how does it give the city jurisdiction to actually lower the speed limit?
Sure, and this is kind of wonky because when we talk about Ohio Revised Code and what does that mean,
right.
that essentially we have kind of 2 jurisdictions in the state of Ohio. We have local municipalities, so a city, a county, a township, let's say, and then we have ODOT, which is the Ohio Department of Transportation. Ohio Department of Transportation has jurisdiction over all of our freeways and usually the main roadways in cities. When you have a specific district that meets a specific level of criteria, which is what the downtown district does, so it's within a specific boundary, it's used for a specific purpose, et cetera, that's when we start to, that's when we have ownership. We have jurisdiction over how we can control speeds. So in the downtown area, we looked at the Ohio Revised Code. We met all that criteria, and so that gave us the ability to say, let's lower the speed limit because we know that downtown is where people work, downtown is where people play, right? We have an incredible festival season that people come downtown for, and it's a neighborhood, right? Downtown is a neighborhood. We have lots of residents that live here and that call this their neighborhood just like everyone else does. And so we wanted to ensure in a place where we have so much foot traffic and folks who are cycling, families that are coming down, that we wanted to start using some of these strategies with Vision Zero in this area where we have more control to then think about how do we expand these strategies throughout the city of Columbus.
Wow. The leading pedestrian interval safety feature, you guys talk about that. How will it increase visibility for pedestrians throughout our city?
Yeah, so let's talk about what that means because folks are probably like, what's a leading pedestrian something? So essentially it's a crosswalk, right? And what it does is I'm sure for anyone, when you've been at a crosswalk and you push the button and there's like a countdown or there's so it's about the timing of how long it takes you to get across the crosswalk, and it's about putting people first, right? Not cars. It's about putting safety first, not traffic. So what it does is, as a pedestrian, you will, when timed correctly, and we've seen there's videos, folks can Google this, about the time that you get to the middle of the intersection, depending upon where we're talking about, but usually it's timed for the middle of the intersection, that's when a car could actually make a right-hand turn. Right? So it moves the pedestrian from being closest to the curb to being somewhere, it gives them more time to cross the street instead of less time. How many times have you, as a pedestrian, you start to see that crosswalk and you dart out and you think, or like these big crosswalks downtown that folks require more time, right? If you have kids with you, their little feet, they got to keep up, or folks who just move a little slower and need more time. So again, it's about changing the timing to get a pedestrian into a safer zone so then cars can go, and then that just makes it safer for everyone.
So that is actually going to be changing in the
Yes.
city, within the city too?
Yeah, so we have specific intersections throughout downtown where we're using this strategy. And then, like I said, we'll be expanding the strategy to other parts of the city as well. And again, it's all about putting that vulnerable person against that two-ton vehicle. That two-ton vehicle is going to win every time. So it's just giving you more time to cross the street.
That's really great. What other strategies are being considered to prioritize safety on the city's transportation system?
Yeah, so folks will see things like we call them beacon. We use all these words that folks probably don't know what they mean, but we have these flashing beacons. So at crosswalks, you'll see them in different parts of the city, along Parsons, along where school zones are, where it's actually literally a flashing sign to remind people to stop, because there are people who are going to be crossing, or where there are longer intervals in a street between lights where people may need to cross because there's a business or another reason where people may need to cross the road. Or we've seen that because folks have let us know this is a natural kind of crosswalk. So those flashing beacons. You'll see things like, we call them road diets, so where we're narrowing the road. So if you look at Livingston coming towards downtown from the east side, there's been some significant, it's gone from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. We're adding in bike lanes. You can see where at intersections we have bump outs, meaning that the sidewalk goes out further. So it's making that intersection more condensed, because you're going to slow down when you have obstacles, right? It's a natural thing for cars. Even street parking is a natural slowdown method for cars, because we can see in some of our older neighborhoods that might not have sidewalks like my neighborhood and lots of driveways, people tend to speed because for them, they don't see any obstacles, right? And so that's why we're trying purposely to put some of those obstacles in their way for you as a driver to remain more alert, to pay attention to what's happening on the road.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for all of this information. Is there anything else that you want to add pertaining to lowering the speed limit and its importance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, again, we're starting with downtown. We're starting with a lot of these strategies. Some of them people will see in other parts of the city, but it is our intention as a city that we are not just addressing the needs of Columbus today, but really building infrastructure for the Columbus of tomorrow, for these million or so people that are going to be coming into the city, for us to make it safer for people to choose cycling, for us to make it safer for people to walk, for us to make it safer for people to drive, for Link Us, when we start to really dig into our bus rapid transit system, to make it easier for people to use these modes of transportation and have the confidence that they're going to be safe and they're going to make it home to their babies and their babies are going to make it home to them. So we appreciate folks. You're going to see a lot of probably cones. You're going to see a lot of traffic. We're making some improvements on the freeway in partnership with the Ohio Department of Transportation. I just ask that folks have grace with us, that folks take it easy, they slow down, they give themselves enough time so that all of us can be safer.
I'm Josie Smith. Thanks for watching City Chat on CTV.